What's going on, guys? This is Aaron from Departures Capital, and we're here with Phil Thomas, CEO of Spey Resources. Nice to have you on, Phil. How are you doing today?
Great, Aaron. Thanks very much for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you. Your new role at Spey. It's a pleasure to have you. Can you start by telling us a bit about your background and how you became involved with Spey Resources?
Yeah, sure. I started working in Argentina about 2003 when I was CEO of Admiralty Resources, and we focused on exploring the Rincon Salar, which you might have heard just sold recently by Rio to Rio Tinto from Rincon Lithium for, I think it was around about $825 million. So the Rincon's quite an interesting salar. It's a little bit different to all the others. It had a high magnesium ratio relative to some of the other major salars like Hombre Muerto. So we had to do some thinking, and then from in 2008 when the GFC came through, we'd already constructed a pilot plant, and we're producing lithium carbonate from that project. So it was kind of a milestone for me in my career because we'd explored, we'd developed it, and we'd produced lithium carbonate. So we'd gone the whole cycle. From there, I went to explore Pozuelos for Lithium, which was subsequently bought by LSC. And just recently, Pozuelos was sold to Ganfeng for $925 million. So the difference in lithium prices from $5,000 a ton to the current day price of $70,000 a ton has made a huge difference in the values. And I was probably 10 years before my time on those projects. Since then, I was CEO of AIS Resources and explored quite a few salars in Argentina, particularly Incahuasi, Positos, Huachitok, Valama, Salinas Grandes, and so forth. So I know most of the salars, I know most of the chemistry in them, I know most of the hydrology in them. So it put me in a good position to take on a role with Spey Resources to drill the Positos salar, which I drilled with AIS in 2018, and Incahuasi, which we recently completed 5 drill holes down there. So as a geologist, I've also sort of wandered over into hydrology and geophysics.
Wow, lots of experience in the field. It all makes sense. So the company recently announced that it plans to acquire Lithium Energy Metal Corporation. Can you tell us a little bit more about this? What sparked your interest with this company?
Yeah, look, spodumene, high-grade spodumene is found in Australia. I guess 2.1 to 2.2% with a couple of producers. Tianqi, for example, is kind of the premium stuff. But I know in the CV5 corridor that Patriot Metals have been exploring, and they've been getting fantastic results. I think in one of their holes they got 3% lithium oxide and some huge crystals, and they've got particularly long strike length. So the area of Patriot, it was obviously very interesting. Structurally, it's very consistent. The age of the rocks are right. The types of the rocks being pegmatites and then tonalites is what we want to see. So it has a lot of potential for quite long strike lengths, and these pegmatite swarms sort of pop up every now and then on the surface, but with a bit of drilling you can see where they're going. So very, very exciting. Gives us a hard rock option to produce, and basically once a proven and probable reserve is calculated, it's a matter of crushing and separating and marketing. And spodumene prices just recently have increased dramatically from sort of 375 to well over $1,300-$1,400 a ton.
That's really interesting. So, why is lithium such an important commodity to focus on right now? And what are you most excited about when it comes to your specific projects?
It's interesting that lithium, and as I said, I've been in this business about 25 years with lithium, and it's interesting to see that it sort of goes in waves. And we're sort of hitting a long wave at the moment where lithium is being consumed. Previously, it used to be used in glass, and now glass is a small market. It's really EV batteries and all the other, apart from cars, in a whole range of EV applications, from power tools, non-reusable lithium batteries, through to lithium applications. And obviously pharmaceuticals uses lithium as well, not only as a medication but as a precursor to other pharmaceutical goods. So lithium is quite a interesting element from the EV sector, which is what we're focusing on. Lithium is now creeping into the anode. I saw a lithium graphite anode being produced, which just means that there's going to be a deficit of lithium. Most projects take 2 to 4 years to go from deciding to start to producing their first amount. And we've gone with the EcoSolve system to produce lithium chloride, which, then can be converted to lithium carbonate or lithium hydroxide, or even further up the chain. So it's really the growth of vehicles in China which sort of led the charge, so to speak, and then the US and of course Europe and Scandinavia.
Yeah, it must have been interesting for you to watch demand grow for lithium and the opportunities within the sector. So, what sets your company apart from other lithium companies? Your projects, let us know.
Okay. It's just a couple of things. If we look at the brines in Argentina, I've been in Argentina working there for 20 years. So we know all the tax rules. We know all the environmental rules. We're well connected. We've got a lot of people that we can draw on to make it happen, basically. The second point is that we've got significant brine flow. So we don't have to rely on pumping and going deeper and putting more holes in. The brine flow, in fact, it surges. If you have a look at the Spey website, there's a video of our 218 drill holes, and both drill holes, which are about 1.5 kilometres, 2 kilometres apart, had surge of brine coming out of the ground, more than probably 2,000 litres a minute. So that solves the pumping problem. And then we've joined with the University of Melbourne and EcoSolve to use their solvent exchange direct lithium extraction process. Solvent exchange has been around for 60 years. It's well understood. It's just that there's been a few modifications to apply it to lithium. And the University of Melbourne's proven that they've been able to recover significant amounts. I mean, most technologies, absorption, membranes, ion exchange, they get maybe 70 to 80% recovery. This has been recording 93, 94% recovery of the lithium. So, and also it's got a very, very green footprint. You don't have to build ponds. You don't have to build a huge infrastructure around it. And you don't have to do any visible changes to the landscape. So the local communities are happy in that there's no changes or perceived changes in groundwater, even though these aquifers are 400 metres below the surface, so the groundwater is significantly higher up the column. But we think that with some luck, a 2.5-year cycle, and from doing a proven and probable to production is probably the time frame. Most other players are still getting their technology sorted out, and so we think from Positos and Inkawasi we'll be able to produce lithium in that time frame, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah, that definitely matters. So, what are some of the major catalyst investors and prospective shareholders should be looking out for in the near term, like let's say in the next year or so?
Well, assays are important, but not when you're using the EcoSolve system, because it can handle the high magnesium problem, for example, that we had at Rincon. And most of the salars, with the exception of some of those in Chile or on the border, and Hombre Muerto, which is obviously the biggest and oldest production facility, have high levels of magnesium, which is a problem when you're producing it, regardless of what technology you use. So investors should be looking for the NI 43-101 report for the resource size, a measured indicator inferred resource, moving to a proven and probable, and then basically pulling the trigger on a feasibility study, and then going into production, basically building the plant. The key points are really just the assays, and you don't have to have high lithium. In fact, high lithium concentrations can be negative to the process, because the lithium joins up with other salts and becomes a twin salt, or comes out of solution, and so you lose it. So you want to try and keep as much of your lithium in solution as you possibly can until you process it. And the values that have been seen in the Positos Solar are around sort of 150, 200 ppm, and that's just perfect. But we know the EcoSolve system operates very well even at 35, 40 ppm. So investors should be looking for the drill results and looking for those reports, and looking for the big green flag, which will be the feasibility study to start.
That's interesting with the grading. I didn't know that. So definitely learned something today. So despite the volatility in the stock market, lithium remains at this point, I would say, one of the only sectors that's still relatively hot to invest into. Why do you think that is?
Lithium's demand is being driven by a whole bunch of different fronts, whereas gold, for example, has only one or two major drivers to it. So from a security of investment point of view, lithium has a significant amount of demand. Supply, there's plenty of supply, but there's not plenty of process supply. The process supply is quite small, and it's basically in Argentina, where you have brines, and Bolivia has very high magnesium in the Bolivian salars, so that's going to be an issue in terms of production. And then Australia producing spodumene, but the problem with that is that spodumene, and it's global, it's not just in Australia, is it grades from say 2% to 6 or 7%, so 93% of it is waste. Mm-hmm. So clearly it's either there's a spodumene processing plant in Australia being built, and one of the things that we're focused on was the waste. Whereas in brines, you're producing 99.5% from the word go, and there's no waste. All the water, all the brines, except for the lithium, goes directly back into the salar using the EcoSolve process. So the fact it doesn't use a lot of energy, the fact that it's going back and replacing basically where it came from, and it takes about 5 years for the brines to migrate through the salar, say for 20 kilometers, as a general rule. It really keeps the environment as it was. So it's much better to have a stable environment rather than an environment where you've got pollution issues, ESG issues, and so forth.
Definitely. So, where should investors go for more information on the company? That's the last thing we got for you.
Okay, the best place is the website, and also our Twitter feeds, and Facebook and LinkedIn feeds, and most of the data is sitting there. And if you can't get onto those, if you want to look at more official documents, CEDAR allows you to see all the documents that we post.
Great, Phil. Well, thank you so much for those updates and information. We'll definitely be having you back on, because I know we will be making more videos, and I look forward to covering the company and seeing your progress.
Yeah, absolutely. November, we're drilling Positos, so hopefully I'll be able to talk to you around Christmas.
Definitely. Sounds good. Well, we'll see you soon.
Okay. See you, Aaron.
If you like these videos, kindly hit that subscribe button and the bell for notifications. Drop us a comment down below. We'd love to hear from you. And finally, always remember, Departures Capital is for information education and entertainment purposes only. Don't buy or sell a stock because you heard it on here. Buy or sell a stock because you've done your research, you've done your thorough due diligence, and you're making your own personal investment decisions for yourself. This video is not financial advice. Furthermore, this video may or may not have been sponsored by the companies that we've profiled within this video, and we may or may not own shares of any of the profiled companies in this video. If you want to know the full disclosure details, check the description down below along with thoroughly reading our disclaimer. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I look forward to seeing you in our next video.